So I do want to ask you this one. So because we kind of talked about it before.
Yes.
But you remember your Shroom trip?
Yes,
the one
sir.
where one where you bailed.
Yes. So.
We got to talk about that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So the deep insight, right, that you've told me so far is you thought everything was fake, right?
Yep.
And then so you were like, who are these people? Who's real and all that?
Yep.
And so you, for whatever reason. We should have taken your keys away. I don't know why we didn't take your keys.
Hey,
that's what we fucked up.
Don't ask the guy. We literally the people.
Yeah, we literally. So, just backstory. Okay, I was going into the monastery. All right, and and so on my going away party, you decided to do your big shroom trip.
Oh, let's give even more backstory. Let me add some backdrop. So out of the blue, I'm living my life. Everything's great. I think my boy Eddie is good, right? I haven't heard from him for a couple months. Let's say it's like 8 months. You know?
I had I took a massive shroom trip, let's just say.
Okay. So what happened was I get a call from our friend Skylar.
Oh, yeah.
Call is, hey, how you doing, man? Great. And I'm like, dude. And I'm like, great, dude. I'm doing great. You know, everything's awesome. And he's like, dude, Eddie's going to become a monk. And I'm just like... what? And then he's like, dude, Eddie's gonna become a monk. Like, and I'm like, what do you mean? Like a monk, like you know, like the robes and everything? And he's like, yeah, dude. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. And then he's like, and then I think he sent me a photo of you. I don't know if he had a photo, I can't remember, but I think he had a photo of you in your outfit. And you still had hair at this time.
At that point, I had hair the whole time. At that point, I was staying weekends at the monastery for quite a while. Yeah.
So he sends me a photo of you in your robe, and I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah.
And the first thing I do after I hang up the phone on Skylar is I call Eddie.
Yeah.
And he answers.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, brother. Or I forget what you said.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what? I'm like, dude, you're going to become a monk? And he's like, yeah, dude, I'm going to become a monk. And I was like, dude, that's fucking crazy. But I was like, you know what? And in my head, I'm like, you know what? If Eddie wants to become a monk, that's fucking dope.
Yeah.
But I'm like, is it really what you want to do? And you were like, yeah, dude, I've already thought about it. I already got my stuff. I'm leaving in like 2 weeks. Because at this point, you had already planned it out. You were leaving in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So I was like, fuck. And the first thing I said was like, dude, I think the first thing I said to you was actually, I was like, hey, dude, I leave you alone for 8 months and you fucking go crazy. Like, what the fuck's going on? You know? And then you're like, nah, dude, I'm just going to try that, you know, and all that, you know? And I'm just like, dude, that's crazy. But it was really like and
well, and you had asked me how
if anyone's asking me about it, I mean that should explain it enough. Yeah. Is that I hit the guy up and I
only had
zero tattoos.
I had this portion.
Zero tattoos beforehand, right? So 8 months no tattoos. 8 months later, it's not like he's got one tattoo. Maybe he's got a little titty. Maybe he's got
had from this black line down.
Maybe he's got a titty tat or something, you know, something cute.
Oh, yeah,
right?
I have that
one. But he doesn't even have that, right?
Yeah.
What he's got is a fucking sleeve. And I'm like, what? And he's like, dude, this is my gate of truth. Yeah. And I'm like, bro. And that's when I knew. I was like, dude, this guy's committed. I'm like, this guy's a fucking monk.
I still am. I read spiritual books every night.
And that's where I think that's dope. And again, and I commend you and kudos to that. But that's why I'm like, at that moment, I was like, dude, my boy's going to become a monk. Yeah. That's dope. And I'm like, this is interesting. But it was really like, hey.
Well, you had asked me like how I got there. And I told you about my shroom trip. And how I took was it 5 grams? I took the 5 grams.
5 grams.
Yeah. And then you were like, I got to do the 5 grams.
Yeah.
I don't know have you ever done that amount?
Bro, fuck you. Have I done that amount? Yes.
Prior to that though? Dude, I forgot. I did.
You dosed me. So when you guys wonder why I went off on my huge trip and drove mushroomed, or actually did not drive mushroomed. But it was because this fucker
I lemon
dosed.
I citrus tech. So if you ever do shrooms and you're like, I only have a gram, but I want way more out of this, and you soak those bad boys in citrusy lime or lemon juice,
I still don't know if I believe that. I think you just cut up a shit ton.
It intensifies the high. No, because Skyler didn't have he had a lot. It was probably roughly around that amount.
It was roughly around 6 grams, I think.
It was
5.5 to 6 grams.
No, he already taken some before that.
But I'd seen an eighth.
It was like around the eighth. It was like around the
It was
eighth of
more
Shroom.
than an eighth, dude. Because I remember that was a crazy
But
dose.
I just remember. I remember you eating them, going the lemon made it worse.
Dude, it was like 5 grams. It was like
Yeah,
5.5. It was
but,
a hero dose. It was crazy.
But you literally like you saw it. Though. You saw the truth. You went into the loop of life.
I would say more that, you know, yeah, really, you know, it was just kind of remembering, oh hey, like it was like restarting. For a second, I'm like, it was the craziest feeling. It was like the feeling of oh shit, like as if you found out something you weren't supposed to find out. You know, like that's kind of how it felt. Like wait, like did I just like break the trance?
Yeah.
So for me, my fear was, you know, looking around and like, hey, like
you didn't know
if
who was
everything
who.
like what was real, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, if I was a crazy person, I could have jumped off a cliff, right?
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm not a crazy person, so I did not jump a cliff.
You just
right?
drove home.
What I did was I was like, wait, so like, what's really real or not, you know? And I'm like, and right now we're shortening it down, but just to break it down, it was more of, you know, literally the best way I can describe it is like you're in like a dark room, like you're floating in space, because it wasn't a dark room. It was like literally I'm you know, I was, you know, seeing stars and everything like that. But it was super introspective because again, you're really just kind of like going deep on you know, thinking about, you know, yourself and everything like that, right? So at that point it was also like I was like, wait, like what's going on? And I think what really tripped me out was the fact that I was like, I hadn't seen you, right?
Yeah, it's so long, and
for
I was
8
leaving.
months.
Yeah.
And then when I see you, all of a sudden you have this tattoo.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I'm like, oh, I just see Eddie's. This is a complete different version of like what I had seen before. And then I do this hero dose of mushrooms, and then all of a sudden I come back and I'm like, Eddie's got a fucking crazy ass tattoo. And I'm like, oh my God, he's gonna become a monk.
Yeah. So, and I want to know what was happening to you, like. You remember when we were in like
that little forest area?
The little forest area, and then
and
you
I
were
was
just
laying
kind
on
of
the ground. The best way I could describe it is I laid down on the ground, and I was face down.
Yeah, you were face down.
And
like you started sitting with your hands, your
my eyes were open in the beginning.
Well,
so
but then you put your head in your palms, like you were like this, right? You were doing that for a little bit.
Oh yeah,
and then you laid on the ground. So like, what happened there?
So basically, the best way I can describe it is, I laid down on the ground, I hugged the earth, and then I got absorbed into the earth.
Wow.
So really, my eyes were open,
you really
and I saw, and I was laying on these rocks, right? And as I'm laying on these rocks, I see, like, it's like, you know, it's like if you're looking at something, it's still not moving, right? But I'm staying in the same spot, and everything's continually moving forward. So even though I'm laying down not moving, I'm like going deeper and deeper into the ground. So at some point the earth absorbed me. Yeah. Is the way I was. And that's why I told you
the people that were passing by.
I was not aware of the people that were passing by.
No, so they did see you, because we were like tucked away. But like I literally, me and Scott were like, oh shit, there's people coming. So we tried to stand in front of you or whatever. Like we were chit-chatting.
There's this dude face down on the ground. What the fuck's going on?
Yeah, exactly. Just
is this a murder?
Earth.
No, he's just tripping. But like I said, so basically it's like, picture like quicksand. Yeah. It's like I was quicksanded into the rocks. Yeah. I'm continually traveling, and then from there it goes into like, let's say, to me it felt like I said, like I'm going into quicksand, and once I break through, it's just space. Yeah. And not like black empty space, but like space, like you're floating in what you think is space. Got it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And what you picture the universe is. Like if you're floating through space, you see the stars, you see like the cosmos and everything. Yeah. That's the way it was. But like I say, it wasn't just very visual. It was cerebral in the fact that I'm very aware of myself, and at the end of the day I'm questioning, wait, so if I'm here, where is everything else, right? And it was really just kind of like I said, and then the first thing I come back to is you fucking tatted up and all trippy, and then I'm like, is this Eddie or is this a spirit
you
guy?
Asked me that, you're like, are you real? Like I was like, yes, I'm real. And you go, Skylar, are you real? Yeah, I'm real. And it's like, are you? I can't tell if you're. And do you remember your loop when you started looping?
I don't remember my loop.
So like, there's something that me and Skylar noticed because it happened to us when we were on high dosages, and it happened to you. So I think it's just something like the lesson to be learned. But for whatever reason, your loop, you would sit down for like 30 seconds, dead silent, like that, right? And then you hop up and go, "Wow, that's amazing." You literally go, "Shit." You literally go, "Wow, that's amazing." And then sit back down, and then you just repeated doing that. And so it was the funniest thing because
because at that moment it was like I say, the shrooms are very introspective, where you're having all these realizations, and it's not just myself, it's life, it's thinking about what's important, it's thinking about people, and it's honest, it was like at that point I was like, wow, it's amazing in regards of being alive and having a consciousness. I think for people take that for granted at the end of the day, like and that's why I say, hey, like if anyone ever has like any like suicidal thoughts or anything, definitely reach out to people. Don't even consider that, I think, or before, because at the end of the day, the fact that you have a consciousness and you have your life, right, is incredible. The fact that you're a human being, have your story, that nobody's like you, right, that every little thing that good and bad that's happened has made you, right, regardless, you're here. Even and you have this consciousness, and right now some people might want to make something end, and that was the sad part, was the pandemic. With the pandemic, is that like a lot of things happened, right? A lot of people committed suicide and stuff like that. But this is why a
lot of drug overdoses,
I think, and so many drug overdoses, so sad. But this is why I say, hey, it's really, for me, it was like just kind of waking up to like, it's like a rebirth, right? It was like okay, like I'm back. I'm starting from square one, and I have to remember what is important. And that's and like I said, and for me that's kind of where, for me lately, it's been reaching out to those people that I just haven't had the chance to reach out to.
Because you've been hanging out with like everybody.
And that's why I reached out to our good old friend Carlos, and hung out with him, and recently back, and it was and my good friend, our old friend Jose, right, I hung out with him. But it's just just checking up on people, and like I said, and sometimes, and for me that was my thing, was like I say, I have I get so deep into something like a project that I'm into, right? So for when it was trading, and when it was investing, again, it still is, but all that, I was super committed to it. It was a full-time job, and then now with the property, it's okay, like that's the next step, so it's been a lot of that. But then it's like just kind of remembering, hey, it's not all about just working and doing that. It's about the journey. It's about spending the time with people. It's about having fun, just at the end of the day, just enjoying people's company and all that. And then even if it's just, that's why I say, for people, just go out. Even if you look at the ocean, like think about how many Californians live near the beach, right, and don't go there. And that's why I say, hey, at the end of the day, just take a deep breath. And that's really where for me, like I said, at the end of the day, what I got back from that trip is, oh, hey, everything that I was worried about losing, in a way, was still here, but it made me realize what was the most important, right? At that moment when I was worried what was real and what was not, I wasn't chasing, like, fuck, where's my money, or all this shit, right? It's I need to, is my family, okay? Are they?
Because that's what I remember you telling me. You were like, you were worried about your siblings.
Yeah.
And you went home and hugged your brother, and then just started crying.
Dude, I was tripping, and he's like, dude, you good, fam? And I remember I was like, because like literally, that's why I was saying, like, the way it went down was, I literally, like I said, I drove from here, and this is how trippy it was. Like, let's say, okay, so I left Eddie's. And this is what added to the trip, right? So. Like Eddie said, was on mushrooms, went down, was pretty gnarly. We're walking back. I'm still kind of like, hey, what's kind of going on? Right?
I'm not off the first trip too.
Yeah, I'm not, and I'm not off the mushrooms at all. Right?
No,
We're back at your house, and it was your going away party, right? So the first people that arrive are like Skylar's dad and everything, and then your little brother, which, just to give some reference, I know Eddie's little brother. I've known him since they were younger, right? So the last time I saw him, he was a little kid, and now I see him and he's all grown up.
Yeah.
So in the mushroom trip,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, it's just another thing
You're like
doubting
I'm
my
not
brain.
used to this.
where I'm like, wait, is this real?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, Eddie is not what I thought was Eddie.
Yeah.
And now,
His
who
brother-
the fuck are you? Wait,
Yeah.
you're Eddie's brother?
Yeah.
I'm like, what's Eddie's brother doing here?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, you
know,
were tripping
remember?
out.
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And that's where, and like I said, and that's where for me, you know, my worry was like, hey, like,
But it was just crazy because literally within an instant, like we literally,
I was gone.
we sat you down on the couch.
I fucking said, fuck.
We said hi to Skylar. You did your little loop where you stood up and went, "Wow, that's amazing." Sat back down. We're like, okay, he's gonna do that again in about 30 seconds. And
You
then
turned around.
I turned around and say, "Oh, what's up?" Someone goes, "Hey, do you want a drink?" And I was like, "Sure, I'll take a drink." And then I was like, "Yo, Cesar," and I turned around and then you're gone. It was literally within the span of like a minute, and I was like, where the hell did he go? And I bolted outside.
You bolted
I
outside and
literally-
you saw my car gone?
I was like, how did he get there so fast? Like,
Dude, and you
know,
saw
I
the
was like-
car gone and you were like,
Dude, I called Mel. Like, I literally pulled out my phone. I was like, Mel, did Cesar call you? Like, where is he?
listen. So, like I said, when I said that
And you
the
came
mushrooms
back.
were like
You
space,
came back though,
100%. And
like
I
an
drove,
hour or two later, because you were on the come down. That's why I think it was.
I drove
like,
home.
Yeah,
I drove home just fine.
Yeah.
And that's where, but again, for me, the drive home, like, it was like I was driving through space. The highway was like picture a freeway through space.
Yeah. So what was going through your mind though, like as you were going?
As I'm driving, it was surreal because I was still in this, you know, what was real, what was not. And like I said, but at the end of it, like, I know I'm driving, I know I'm going forward. And that was the whole thing. I was very like, you know, focused on, oh, hey, I'm driving, you know, keep the speed limit, keep everything, you know, watch my lanes and everything.
Yeah.
But for me, it was like, oh, wait, the freeway's in space.
Yeah.
That's the only thing. So I look off my right, and then the thing is, it wasn't I was in space. It was that the particular highway portion that I was on.
Yeah.
There was this mountain, and it's pitch black, and there's only a couple houses that are on the mountain.
Yeah. So it looks kind of like stars in the sky.
The houses have the light
Yeah.
on, and it looks like stars in the sky. So I see the sky with stars, and I look down, and I see more stars that look brighter, and all of a sudden I'm like, what the fuck? But I'm like, nope, focus on driving. so I'm driving home, but for me, like I say, literally picture a freeway through space. So I'm like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
I mean, that sounds really cool though.
It was honestly one of the coolest moments of, you know, it was a very cool moment. But it was,
And then you came back and you were just ripping bowls.
Yep. But like
Did
I
you
said,
smoke at all during the trip, or like when you were
I
coming
think
up?
in the beginning, remember, I was like, oh,
because that's what I did. I smoked when I did my 5 grams. I smoked a whole joint,
yeah.
like a 1 gram joint, and
Yeah.
I shot into outer space within 30 seconds.
And then I remember we did too. I was hitting the piece, and then
Yeah, and I think that's what does it, man.
Yeah.
The two, because like
it's the cross. But that's why I say mushrooms are very, very introspective. Where I think they're very powerful in what you think and what you believe in at that moment is what's really gonna stick with you.
Yeah,
so
and it
for
gives
me, it was a very solidifying thing of, hey,
it gives you the answers you need.
yeah. At the end of the day, it was always at the end of the day for me, it was remember what's important, which is the people around you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then cherish them, right? But you know, for like you, it was like, oh, like he's gonna go off and do his thing. Awesome, you know, good thing. I hope the best for my friend.
Yeah.
And it was like this journey, like, hey, you know.
Yeah,
and then at the end of the day, look, you fucking this
I was like-
fucker comes back 3 months later.